So, folks, there is this guy named Donald Trump, and apparently he won the election, and he's doing an interview with Meet the Press. It's about an hour long. Let's jump into it and see how long we can last. Because I don't know if you guys know this, he's just gonna say lies the entire time, and he's also not gonna do most of the things he's saying, but he might do some of them. We need to know kind of where his head's at so that we can oppose him effectively. So, let's jump into it, shall we?
Donald Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and a first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So,
Okay, I don't know if you guys remember, but his rhetoric is actually so much worse than it was last time. Like his rhetoric has like gotten more extreme since last time around.
we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because, you know, they're coming due and they're very substantial for people. And it would be very, I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever. And those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat-controlled cities and states. And we're going to be working with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. And I look forward to doing it. But we have to do something about crime, and mostly in our cities. And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with...
He's had a little bit of trouble. You will be working on his nomination. You know, a thing you have to do when your nomination pick is going well. Yeah, typically, typically when your nomination process is going well, the president has to come out and talk about how you need to work on your nomination a little bit. Like it's some kind of homework assignment that you didn't quite nail.
A lot of others.
And not, you know, like credible evidence that you may have, in fact, date raped a woman.
We are going to
Trump is going to find out how little crime there is already and say, "We did it." You know he is.
I mean, that's one possibility. That would be maybe the least bad possibility, but I don't think we're going to be getting the least bad possibility here, sadly.
But since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically...
Honestly, the biggest thing that could really derail Pete Hegseth's nomination here is if he shows up on the job drunk around Donald Trump. Donald Trump personally hates people who can't keep their shit together, especially around alcohol. He has a very long and established history with that. And I could see Pete Hegseth just personally irritating Donald Trump to the point where he just like gives up on the nomination for him.
A military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think it would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense, but...
like, he'll hopefully be... Okay, Donald Trump is really hedging his bets with this Pete Hegseth nomination. This is this does not bode well for Pete Hegseth getting the position. Let's put it that way.
Every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was
Oh, how come you haven't heard about this with Trump and drinking? Yeah, he's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink alcohol.
unjustly put in prison.
That's like one of the
because they
few
were
true things about him.
really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job,
Yeah.
does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, it's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. But he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really
I don't know. They're leaking about him like a bad faucet.
terrific. And again, all he talked about.
Did Trump
was
just
me.
call
I said,
himself
you know,
fat?
You're not
Yes.
really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know. You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him, so he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, you know, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said,
Oh man, he straight up threatened Pete Hegseth. Man, you know, if you get this job, you can't go back. Haha. So do it right. Don't fuck it up.
this is all about America. You know, he didn't say, well, let me think about it, let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, you know, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into
sure,
your cabinet picks a
sure.
little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price
Yeah.
of tariffs.
I do think that Donald Trump is gonna back down on this tariff thing, or he's just gonna like do some phone calls and tell people he got good deals. Maybe he'll put like a 2% tariff on China or something, you know, like symbolically, and then claim it was a massive victory. I get that impression from this whole tariff thing. I don't think he necessarily is going to go in the direction we initially feared as worst case scenario. So that's the only way it would really go through Congress. And the other thing is, what does he stand to gain from putting in massive tariffs? He doesn't really stand to gain much from that, other than perhaps selling like access through the tariffs to businesses loyal to him, you know? Which would be a pretty big boon, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that, given that I think Congress needs to be in on that, on tariffs that sweeping anyway.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow, but I can.
Oh man. What a line. I can't guarantee. Oh man, I'm just gonna be the president of the United States. What do you want from me? I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee you that tomorrow's gonna happen. I don't command all of physics. I'm not a wizard.
Can say that if you look at my just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So,
You know, like when you really just take any one or two parts of what he's saying out of context, it's completely like what do you mean? They created inflation with energy. Like I mean like he created zero inflation. Again, these are just the ramblings of a madman.
I think we will.
You have to like read between like and connect the dots like you're putting red yarn on a cork board.
Big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariff...
Hey, Akumi.
Me whenever I have to listen to this bloviating orange asterisk face.
Man, I really hate that man.
Fair. Fair. Fair.
tariffs...
Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs, Akumi. Getting us up to 20 subs.
Me
We are
whenever I
1/3
have
of the
to
way
listen
there.
to this bloviating orange asterisk face.
I don't know why there's such a delay between the notifications, but 1/3 of the way to our goal. Let's go, folks.
We're going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They could.
That's the great part. I don't. That's the best part about all of it. I don't. I just tell them don't do it, and then maybe they do, maybe they don't. I can't guarantee anything.
Most Americans, nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to...
See, this is the thing. You need to push back. Like I'm sorry. I want a reporter to ask him basic questions. And I've wanted this for years now. Almost a decade since he entered the political scene. I want a reporter to actually sit down and be like, can you explain how a tariff works, please? I want I just want to see him try and answer that question. And to have a basic conversation, not about the wide-ranging issues, but very specifically, like, what do you think a tariff is? How does this not put the cost on the American people? Like, I want those 2 questions in that order posed to him. But no one ever asks him the most basic questions. We need, like, more antagonistic press. Like, one of the things I want to do, if I ever get that crazy Hassan money, I want to create seed money for like little Democratic co-op newspapers. Little local journalism outfits that can run themselves, be self-sustaining, and basically do actual reporting. Because this is not reporting. You're just sitting there asking him very broad questions with almost no pushback. Yeah, we need a Mehdi Hassan to question him, but he'd never be questioned by Mehdi Hassan. You know that.
Do with wars and having to do with other things. Tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but
Which ones? What are you talking about?
both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And
What are you talking about? You have never passed a tariff of 100%. What do you mean?
they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country.
Any kind of follow-up question, please. Please, for the love of God.
Lol, have Matt Walsh ask him what is a tariff.
Matt Walsh would never ask him that question. Matt Walsh would be too busy filleting him. You know that. I know that. We all know that.
Money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part, and we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No. You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio. And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure?
I'm just going out on a limb here. I bet that Whirlpool manufactures a lot of their stuff in America. But I do wonder, where do they manufacture their parts? Because I'm going out on a limb here and guessing that they don't manufacture everything out of material from the United States or even manufacture all of their parts in-house in Ohio. As our resident Ohioan, that didn't happen. Yeah, he sounds full of bullshit right now in a way that's making my ears ring. It's very frustrating.
Sure that consumers don't wind up paying more. Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs on to their customers?
Obviously not. What are these questions? You know who he is. You know what party he's running in. Ask him actual questions.
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries
You talked about putting 100% tariffs on them. What do you mean, dude?
do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. with Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with the
No, no, come on. Not even any pushback. Like the way he like gains her, I don't know, participation and her credibility and uses it for his own ends in this is just like, how? I mean, I guess if you pushed back on him, he'd simply leave, but let him leave. That makes him look bad and weak.
both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border, too, a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in the case of, in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border, having to do with Mexico, they were at a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I called the border. See, unlike my opponent.
This is pure fantasy. This is like as embarrassing as like reading a self-insert fan fiction of Twilight. You know, like this is embarrassingly obviously a lie.
I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these vast groups of people.
I forgot.
We call them caravans.
You know, we haven't been paying much attention to him lately because frankly he's just kind of doing what he does. But I forgot how just incessantly stupid he is. I forgot about that part.
But they had caravans of people, and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that, but if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs, and I told that to China, too. I had to deal with President Xi. Had the election been different, I'm going to be very nice because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020, but had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving their maximum penalty, which is the penalty of death, to people that sent fentanyl into this country. But Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had...
That would not stop drugs. We have the death penalty for all kinds of things, and it doesn't stop those things from happening because people don't do them, and people don't do crimes like that, and they're like, ah, yes, but what if I'm caught? Like, if they're caught, their lives are over anyway, so they just do them anyway, regardless.
Communication as recently as this week, and I had communication with him where they were going to give...
If anything, it just pops the price of those drugs up.
The death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
Not that conversation, but I had other conversations. Okay. But in the past, I've had that conversation.
Let me ask you about another aspect of the economy, sir, the minimum wage. The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 since 2009. There are 20 states that still have the...
Lady, are you serious right now? Are you seriously about to ask him if he's going to raise the minimum wage? What kind of softball shit is this?
Federal minimum wage at $7.25, and I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir. Mm-hmm. And you can see it right here. I don't know if you remember this, but during the debate in 2020, I asked you if you would raise the minimum wage. You said you would consider it. And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White House, for these 19 states...
These people don't understand that he's a fascist. They don't understand what fascism is. He's just going to intimate that he possibly could do it and ride the possibility of it into like more power. That's it.
that voted for you. Are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
minimum wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though. In California, they raised it up to a very high number. And your restaurants are going out of business all over the place.
That's not true.
The population is shrinking.
That's not
It's had
true.
a very negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that level, do you
I don't
think?
know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this.
I don't know, but maybe we could start at 1 cent. We'll see. We'll start at 1 cent, and then we'll raise it 1 cent every year. How about that?
You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage. If you raise it too much, and you understand this, if California went crazy, they went crazy, and the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider it? Is this something you're going to look at?
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive to live, where a minimum wage, which is $8 or $9, might have very little effect because the cost of living in certain places is really low.
Before we move on to immigration, which I do want to talk about, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not.
Well, I mean, it doesn't cost as much money for them to live in those shitty states, so we don't need to raise the minimum wage. Yeah, this is the populist that liberals are scared of. Actually embrace populist policy, and this guy crumples like a paper tiger.
Not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it. But I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he probably wouldn't. But if I told him to, he would.
Oh, yeah. Very meaningful distinction there.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you.
Why? I'm sorry. I'm an American. I've been an American all my life. I can count on like one hand the number of times I've had to know what the Statue of Liberty is, and each and every single one of those times it was either for like a second grade class or it was just like idly talking to someone about New York and making a crack about New York City and the Statue of Liberty. That's it. That's it. That's the entirety. There is no inherent value to forcing people to know what the Statue of Liberty is. Like, it is so deeply ironic to me that he's like, yes, we need a test to make sure people know what the Statue of Liberty is, okay? When he doesn't even give a single shit about the Statue of Liberty or what it says on the Statue of Liberty, because if he did, he wouldn't be requiring a test to come here. It's kind of one of the entire points of the Statue of Liberty, actually. Something about the tired masses yearning to be free? I don't know. Maybe he needs to take that test. I think he'd fail right now.
A bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family. And they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No,
That
it's within the 3-year
13,000
period. It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom.
The attempts at pushing back are so goddamn weak. We need an actual press in this country.
Murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh.
I have to be honest with you guys. I'm never going to forgive TYT for peddling this bullshit. Like, I've covered this story extensively about Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings. TYT picked up this story, helped spread it around, and it has never been true at any given point had they bothered to look into it even slightly. And the fact that this is a lie that Donald Trump continues to run with isn't at least part due to that, you know? And like, I'm sorry, there is no evidence that Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes across Colorado, let alone in one city in Colorado. The people who were charged for the crime on that video camera, by the way, none of them were in a gang. Like, I have several. Look, I know Jose did a video on it, okay? But I also have several videos on it. Go watch my videos and then maybe watch Jose's, okay? I'm a little biased, but do both.
It's totally the case. I mean,
They promoted the story again today? The journalistic integrity has been punted into the sun by TYT. Embarrassing.
Believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, it was they're breaking.
Yeah, local police, well known for lying on behalf of gangs that are taking over apartment buildings. You know, residents of apartment buildings, well known for lying about gangs taking over their buildings. Exactly. You believe. Don't believe the residents of the buildings. Don't believe the local police. Don't believe the mayor. Don't believe any of those people. Believe Donald Trump. That's an insane line to run with.
The doors, they're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the
raised
way, the
point.
police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are,
You would
like again, if this reporter had done any research about his recent rhetoric, she'd know that he's going to bring this up, and she should be prepared to counter this. Because again, it's not there is no evidence of gangs taking over apartment complexes in Colorado. There's just not. And the idea that this is being said with like zero pushback,
Everything's
like just real quick.
Yeah, the point. You
and by the
raised
way, the
point.
police are afraid to do anything.
The police aren't afraid. The culprits behind the apartment complexes are the landlords who have been criminally negligent in how they ran those buildings, which led to the city having to shut those buildings down. Something that would be, in fact, very difficult if they were infested and, like, taken over by the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Like, it's just a lie.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are,
You would
but
need
everything's
24
complicated.
Yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals.
Why won't they fact check? I mean, I think we all know the answer to that.
And we
They look. They want to maintain access with Donald Trump, which means they don't want to push too hard. Otherwise, he won't talk to them anymore. And he's really good for ratings, so they want to keep in his good graces so they can make lots of money. That's it. That's all they want. Like, that's all that these media organizations want. But they care way more about making money than they do about holding Donald Trump accountable.
got to do it. And then we're starting with others. And we're going to see how it goes.
Like, I do wonder to what extent the press themselves are complicit versus the press companies. You know, like, I do go back and forth between that, and I do think it varies on a person by person basis in the media. But like, damn, this is a pretty bad interview.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms. And we have
Citation needed?
to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children.
Like,
You said
I'm sorry. Ask him a follow-up question about that. Ask him for some data on, like, you're saying there are murderers all over in our fields and in our like, based on what information? But she can't fact check with any sources while interviewing him. Yeah, but like, that's why you come in knowing about these stories. That's why you come in knowing about like what types of stuff he could throw out there, and she just didn't. And even in the cases where she does know something enough to fact check him, it's like a very tepid attempt to fact check.
once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because
Oh, they're going to come later. That's a yes. They want to deport dreamers. Well, that's scary. Get to states that aren't going to work with ICE folks.
these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the
What does
dreamers.
that mean?
And
What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the
Who are dreamers? They are they are children, I believe, who were brought here to the United States by their parents and have been in like a special program that allows them to stay because they grew up here. And basically they're all registered with the government, so they're a very easy group for Republicans to continuously threaten to deport. And Democrats have routinely failed to grant them full citizenship or a program to achieve full citizenship. And so they've basically been waiting for decades now to become full citizens, and they've been denied that, and Donald Trump wants to deport all of them. And it's going to be easy to do that because they're all on a list.
Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country. Many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
You want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying?
I do. I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years, and it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it.
I want to be able to work something out. Again, the thing he's going to work out is getting rid of them. He's running on a campaign to do the largest mass deportation in U.S. history.
Because he controlled, you know, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about
Tom Homan.
separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your border.
The Brassman, the median age of Dreamers is 24. Only around like a fourth of them are actually children. 3/4 of them are adults.
Czar Tom Homan said they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep the. Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the
But
family
where are
is
they
you
going
keep
to
them.
send them when they have no other nationality?
That's not the problem of the United States government. That is the position Donald Trump would take. They'll just send them wherever they think they should go, which will of course be guided by racism. The average wait time for the citizens exam is 7 to 10 years, except that the Dreamers do not have the ability to take the citizens exam. That's the issue. That like the entire problem with the Dreamers has been that there is no pathway to citizenship for them. They live in an eternal limbo. Why? Because racism and xenophobia. Like, you can even look at like the National Immigration Forum here, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA. It's a deferred action policy implemented by the Obama administration in June of 2012. It is aimed at protecting qualifying young undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children, temporarily shielding them from deportation and providing them work authorization with possible renewal every 2 years. DACA protections can be revoked by DHS, and DACA recipients continue to lack legal status and a pathway to citizenship. So again, the argument that, oh, well, they can just take the citizenship test is no, they can't. By joining the DACA program, they are legally prohibited from taking the citizenship test. So, like, the idea that, well, they have to wait 7 to 10 years until they can take the citizenship test. Someone who was 1 year old in 2012 is 12 now. Like, the minimum age you could be is only 6 years away from being a legal adult. There are 3.6 million Dreamers, and only 600,000 of them are under the age of 18 right now. That means 3 million of them are adults who are barred from actually attempting to become U.S. citizens. And he is saying, oh, well, we'll have to do something about them. He's not saying he wants to make them citizens. He wants to deport them. They're the easiest group for him to deport. He has them all on a handy list. They're required to check in every 2 years. The government knows exactly what's going on with them. That's why they are targeted by Republicans constantly since 2012.
Border Czar Tom Homan said they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep the. Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together, and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules. And
Look, I'm sorry, but like I do not understand how someone can watch this and be like, ah, yes, when he's talking about DACA, he means he's going to make them citizens. No, he's not. He immediately transitioned into talking about how he wants to deport legal U.S. citizens who happen to be born to undocumented immigrants. He doesn't care if people are here legally. He doesn't care if they are, you know, role model citizens or whatever. He doesn't care. He's just going to try and break the Constitution to do whatever it is he wants to do.
Regulations. You can always find something out like, you know, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal and they show...
Didn't he break up families in his first term? Yeah, and he's trying to sell the idea of deporting legal citizens of the United States as, oh, well, I'm just keeping the families together.
The woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws, and in the end...
But you're breaking the law by deporting citizens. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't be like, ah, yes, I'm merely, you know, people are mad at us for simply following the law. It's a real law and order situation. You are breaking the law by deporting citizens.
Look, our country is a mess. We have the highest crime rate, and during the debate, a man whose ratings have gone...
He's, by the way, to be clear, he's arguing for deporting legal citizens of the United States who are children. Some of the most vulnerable people in our society.
Way down, David Muir said to me, no, crime is... Because I had to debate 3 people, not 1. Debating 1 was easy. Debating 3 was actually pretty easy, too, if you want to know the truth. But David Muir said, the crime rates have gone down. I said, no, they've gone up. And then the following day, they released the crime rates, and they were way up.
Yeah, and the FBI statistics are... You're talking about those FBI statistics,
well, no, but he gave the wrong answer.
Confusing based on what you're looking at.
But a lot of that is migrant crime.
Let me ask you about another aspect of this.
Christian, you know a lot of it's...
The easiest way to get just a green card under DACA is marriage, which still takes 4 years.
Yep. Right now, the only real viable pathway to citizenship for DACA folks is marriage. That's it. That's the only way. That is the only pathway to citizenship, and it's kind of messed up that that's the case. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Screech. Now, also, crime is down. Guys, crime is down due to modern numbers. Murder in the United States fell by 12% in 2023. I'm sorry. The narrative that he's going with, and the narrative that that is just being uncritically parroted by this journalist, is incorrect. Oh, the crime has gone way up. No, it's not.
Migrant crime.
Well, let me ask you about...
And he's saying that the crime is going up because of immigrants, and the crime isn't even up. And immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans.
Another aspect of this that I think a lot of people are really curious about. I mean, 3% of the people who are here illegally have criminal histories. But in your first administration, you had the zero tolerance policy, where we did see...
You know, another way of framing that would be 97% of the people who are here, who are undocumented in this country, are not criminals. That would have been, like, if you are trying to push back here, that would be the more eye-catching statistic. 97% of the people here who are undocumented are not criminals.
Family separations.
Yeah.
You ended it. The purpose of that, though, to some extent, and you
And
talked
by the
about
way,
this at the
you had
time,
it.
was
You
deterrent.
also had it with Obama. You do know that.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
And you also know he built the jails for children.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
But
I
in
wanna-
2014, he built the jails. You know that.
I want to ask you about the
And then you filled the jails. Incredible stuff.
zero tolerance policy. I mean, he didn't have a systemic, we're going to separate families. Families were separated
Mikey
when parents were a
Masu.
threat to the kids.
We
Let-
don't have to
let me
separate
ask
a
you about
family.
this.
Excuse me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families.
Yeah.
We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came.
You've already established that the children were born in the United States. That's why they have U.S. citizenship. So you're not sending them back to the country from which they came. You're deporting a U.S. citizen.
That way the family's not separated.
So no more family separations. You're not reviving the
depends
zero
on the
tolerance.
That's the part you lock onto, not him saying he wants to deport U.S. citizens?
The family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option.
But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out.
Oh, so you are going to separate families. There you go. That is the real answer right there.
Or they can all go out together. And that was made very clear by Tom Homan.
So you're not, at this point in time, planning to revive that zero tolerance policy where kids are
Well, if you call
separated.
that, yeah, I'm doing what I just told you I'm going to do. You know, I don't want to send the family out. I don't want to send anybody out. But I'll tell you, we have to, because otherwise we have no country. If we don't have borders, and if we don't have voting, good voting, fair voting, do you know they're still counting votes in San Diego, California? Listen, they're still counting the votes. This is almost 4 weeks. They're still counting the votes.
You know, I seem to recall some kind of novel about a choice. Something like Sophie's Choice. I don't know. Maybe that's not a great thing to invoke in this incoming administration.
If we don't have fair elections and honest voting and machines that work quickly, you know, if you had paper ballots, every election will be over by 10 o'clock in the evening.
So, let me ask you.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, because you need to hand count the votes. Each of these places has the right to determine how they do their voting process. And some of them choose to have slow but accurate count totals. That full stop. That's it.
Let me, before we get to...
The federal government can't dictate to them how to do their democratic process.
Much more accurate count.
Before we get to all of that, let me ask you about some of your other promises on this topic. You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
We're going to have to get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
We're the only country that has it.
That's not true. Basically, every country in North and South America has birthright citizenship.
Do you know, if somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America.
That's not how that works. Birthright citizenship isn't just stepping onto American soil.
Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it. It's ridiculous. Do you know we're the only country in the world that has it? Do you know that? There's not one other country.
What about the legal challenge?
Yeah, he wants to basically end the process by which when you are born in America, you become a U.S. citizen. This has been a Republican pipe dream for a while, where they basically want to make citizenship something that is contingent on something like military service or passing proficiency exams, etc. It's basically a much wider ranging form of like a poll test in order to restrict who can vote.
legal
that's the other
challenges
thing.
that'll
Do you know
come.
we have thousands of judges? Somebody walks onto our land, and we have to now say, welcome to the United States. They could be a criminal or not a criminal. We release them into our country. It's called catch and release. We release them into our country. Wait, just one second. And now they get them lawyers. And the lawyers are good lawyers. And everybody has a lawyer. And do you know how many judges we have? Thousands. Thousands. Now, here's what other countries do.
Man, someone in chat was upset that they got a boner when seeing my face. Jesus.
They come into the land and they say, I'm sorry, you have to go. And they take them out. Okay? With us, once they touch our land, we're into litigation that lasts for years, costs us hundreds of billions of dollars. We have judges, and I'm sure they're all honest, but I don't know that for a fact. You can imagine what's going on with the judges. But just so you, because I have a lot of judges, I tell you what, I know more about judges than any human being in history. Look, we have judges. Every time somebody puts 2 feet or even 1 foot on a piece of our land, it's welcome to long-term litigation. Other countries, every other country, when somebody walks on and they see that they're here illegally, they walk them off, they take them back to where they came from. We have to get rid of this system.
Damn. Also, a lot of like assumptions about my body. How do you know I have a penis? You don't know what my situation is. Oh, sorry guys. Yeah, troll in YouTube chat. I took care of it. It's fine. Man, it really does suck being like a trans person covering news and politics in this day and age. Ugh, exhausting.
It's killing our country.
Let's talk about health care. I've been talking to Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. They say
It's fine, Winby. Sometimes doing my job just feels like crawling across like a broken glass.
it's no longer feasible to repeal and replace Obamacare because it's so entrenched in the system. Do you see it that way? Is that now off the table, repealing and replacing
when John
Obamacare?
McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins and whoever it was that voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice because we
would have had great health with my concept of a plan. Keep in mind, guys, he does not have a plan to replace our healthcare system. Okay? Their plan is just to repeal with no plan. Their plan is, yeah, hey guys, do you remember how great it was before Obamacare when you could be denied health insurance coverage for pre-existing conditions? That's right, if you had diabetes, good luck getting health care.
had great health.
Yeah, his plan is for droves more people, tens of thousands of more people to die every year in the United States due to lack of health care.
Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people. It's lousy health care. When John McCain...
It's not? Are you kidding me? Ask any senior citizen.
Gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, put his now famous thumbs down, and he became a hero to the left. Let me tell you.
I mean, he didn't become a hero to the left by any means, but that was like the one good thing he ever did.
If we find something better, I would love to do it. But unless we find... But one thing I have to say, I inherited Obamacare, or anything else you want to go. It's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And I had very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
but you did try to overturn it, sir.
Well, it's lousy.
You did try to overturn it. You did have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to.
No, we got a little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. If it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care right now. But right now,
Follow it up. Follow up that claim. How? How would we be having much better health care? What is your plan? You said you had concepts of a plan. What is your plan right now? Explain to me how getting rid of the Affordable Care Act makes healthcare better for your average citizen. Explain. Because he can't. But no one ever asks him the inconvenient questions that would make him flail. No one ever does.
we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside. I did the right thing from a human standpoint, but, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. But it's too bad that they voted no. I wish John McCain, I wish he fought for 10 years on replacing Obamacare, for 10 years, and then he voted against. Nobody understands it.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about these concepts. What do they look like?
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain. We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking.
Oh man, I want my healthcare to be dictated more by healthcare companies. They're so good at it. They're so good at it that, like, nothing bad is happening to their executives.
Because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. There are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats.
You have had 10 years to come. I'm sorry. Real quick. When was ACA passed? It was passed in 2010. You have had 14 goddamn years. Almost 15 years to come up with a plan, and you have nothing. Nothing.
And to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare. I will say.
No, you're not. You tried to kill it multiple times, and you talked about it in this interview. You talked about your multiple attempts to kill it. And now you're like, but I saved it though. No, you didn't.
And I did the right thing.
You lying bastard.
I could have done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
No.
sir.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a...
God. Yeah, you tried to kill it in Congress. You tried to kill it in the courts. Oh, God. He can't help but lie.
physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir, will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage?
No, ask him about what his concepts are.
And
because you're just feeding him additional details that he has no idea. He doesn't know what the Affordable Care Act does for people with pre-existing conditions. Ask him what his concepts are.
And you guarantee their
Let him define it.
Prices will not go up.
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their
because
prices?
You know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe. And I have the smartest people in that world. You know, that's a separate world unto itself. I have the smartest people in that world looking at it and trying. And if they come
and they've come up with nothing. And if they come up with something, I will present it. But they got nothing. They've had 15 years to whittle away at the idea. They have nothing. The only people and I mean this sincerely, the only people with proposals to actually improve our healthcare system are leftists. Medicare for all. It's cheaper by far than the system we currently have. It covers everybody in the country. And on top of that, it is less expensive per person. It is the plan that would fix this country when it comes to healthcare. But Republicans don't want to do it because of the big money donors. And Democrats don't want to do it because of the big money donors. But it's so painfully obvious that Republicans have absolutely nothing.
Come up with something, I will present it. Now, maybe you won't be able to sell it, but if we get better health care for less money, I believe it's very saleable.
Just very quickly, when will we see your fully developed plan? When are you going to show
I don't know
the
that you'll
public
see it at all. I can only say that we have some of the best healthcare people. I've always tinkered with it. I think it's a little hard to explain. Obamacare, when I took it over, was a disaster.
You tried to kill it so many times.
And I made it
It has insured
workable.
20 million people.
Yeah, because of me. Because of me.
No, you didn't do shit.
If you look at what I did, I was the one. I made it good.
You
yeah,
tried to
legally.
repeal and replace.
How? No, ask him how. Ask him the most basic question you possibly could conceive of in the given moment. The failure of this journalist makes me so mad. Ask him just very simple how questions that would require him to explain himself.
You tried
Because
to
if
kill
I
it,
repealed
sir.
it and replaced it, we would have had a better system because we wouldn't have had health care. And the
Like, if you just feign a casual curiosity about what he's saying and, like, ask him basic follow-up questions, he can't answer them because he has no idea what he's talking about. He's faking it till he makes it.
Democrats would have been forced to do something. If we wouldn't have had it, the Democrats would have been forced to do something that they wouldn't do if we have it.
Let me ask you about another aspect of healthcare. You talked about this on the campaign trail, right. IVF. You promised free IVF for all who want it, either through the government or through mandates with insurance companies. I've been hearing from Republican senators, some of them, who say they're not going to support that plan. How are you going to get that passed?
Well, we're going to see. We want them to pay, ideally the insurance companies to pay for it, the fertilization. I came out very early for a Republican especially, and I think they were looking for my guidance, my great wisdom, right? They were looking for
Great wisdom. Real quick here, folks, we're about at the halfway mark. We have been going for over 3 hours. We're almost at the 3-hour, 20-minute mark. Now, folks, if you're enjoying the stream, or, you know, I know this is rage-inducing, so maybe enjoyment isn't the best way to describe it, but if you're getting anything out of this stream, please hit the follow button on Twitch and hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the YouTube stream. Like I'm taking a little gander at the YouTube stream right now. We've got like 200 some people watching, and you know, I think we can get 150 likes. I believe in you guys. Don't let me down. And also, please consider dropping those subs and donos, because that is what makes this show possible. I would not be able to do these streams, put this show together, make content on YouTube, etc. without your support. I do not make money off of the ads, really, so please consider supporting the show with those subs and donos if you feel so inclined, because your support is what makes this show happen. And thank you to everyone who's donated so far this stream. He's such a silly goober. I mean, he is, but in the worst possible way. Ay, ay, ay. Irascended Kitten, thank you for the $5 dono. Also, every sub or dono gets us closer to our analog horror goal, to see what's up next from Manticore. So consider dropping those subs and donos, folks, if you would like to see that. Now, with that, let's keep going.
And I got a call from Katie Britt, who's a terrific person, senator from Alabama. And she said, sir, we just had a really negative ruling from a judge in Alabama, conservative judge, that all of these clinics had to be closed. And she said, and she went into great detail, and she said people are devastated over it. And after literally speaking to her for 5 minutes, I issued an order, really an order in a sense. And it was a statement from the Republican Party that we are all for IVF and fertilization. Okay. The Alabama legislature met the following day and passed it. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I consider myself to be the father of IVF in a certain way. And the Republicans.
You know that's an insane thing to say, right? Like, he's talking about it like he pioneered the procedure. What are you talking about, man? I'm something of an inseminator myself.
Republicans were very strong on the issue.
But, sir, I want to understand where it falls in your list of priorities. I mean, is this something we can expect to see you try to move on in the first 100 days?
We're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be seeing. We have a lot of other things. I have tax cuts. You know, we'll be submitting in either the first or second package to Congress the extension of the tax cuts. So that might very well be in there, or it'll come sometime after that.
Let's talk about abortion, sir. You have taken responsibility for overturning Roe v. Wade. You've said that abortion is now a state issue. There are steps that you could take, though, as president to restrict abortion through executive action without Congress. More than half of abortions in this country are medication abortions. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office?
I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years, and the answer is no.
You commit to that?
Well, I commit.
I'll probably do that. I'll probably do that.
The last 2 years, and the answer is no.
You commit to that?
Well, I commit. I mean, do things change? I think they change.
I'm not a fucking wizard. I can't peer into my crystal ball and see what's happening in the future. I mean, look, circumstances could shift and I might need to restrict abortion pills. Who can say? Trust me. What a piece of shit.
I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon, and so I don't like putting myself in a position like that. So things do change, but I don't think it's going to change at all.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your picks to fill out your administration. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. Yeah. He has a list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray. You campaigned on destroying the deep state. Do you want Kash Patel to launch investigations into people on that list?
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
No, but he's going to do what he thinks is right. He works for you.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's right, sir?
If they think that...
He does not give a single shit. Like, that is the of a man who has not thought about this issue at all.
That somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But...
Are you going to direct him to do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there. We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair. And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be difficult because he's, you know, a strong conservative voice. And I don't know of anybody that's not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart and very respected in the party, he's Kash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. You know Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, you know, just like him. Others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No, I don't think so.
Do you
Why would he care? Why would he answer you honestly? And two, if his pick went after his political enemies, that's exactly what he wants him to do. That's why he picked him.
want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have...
Yeah, he wants his enemies investigated, and any dirt they can find will be caused to, like, punish them severely. Yeah. This is called going after your political opponents.
broken the law? Probably. They went after me, you know. They went after me and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden,
I mean, I don't know. You were convicted
quote, that you're going to appoint a real special
of
prosecutor
34 felonies.
to go after Joe Biden. You said that
Where
during
did I say that?
the campaign.
Where?
You said that on Truth Social, June 12th, 2023. I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, Joe Biden, and the entire
Well, that
Biden
part is
crime
true.
family. Are you going to do that? Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. If we can make our success, this country.
That might actually be the most sincere thing he said in this entire interview. That is actually, look, that's actually a good, what he said there is actually a good thing. If retribution is through success, then what he's trying to say is, nah, I'm not going to go after them because our real revenge is going to be living well, essentially. He's saying we're going to get retribution by, like, essentially fleecing the American people for tax cuts. That's basically what's happening here. He has really no idea what the fuck. Praising Trump? In what way can you interpret what I just said as praising Trump? What I'm saying is that it's a good sign. It's a good sign that what he's going to do is not day one get in office and start rounding up leftists to shoot them at the wall. Like, what? How? Oh man, what high praise? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm losing it, bro.
Successful. That would be my greatest. That would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped.
Everything that's coming out of Trump's mouth is a lie. I cannot express to you how angry I am in this particular moment at everything that I have been doing today, at the amount of time I have spent trying to explain this, only to be met with someone telling me that I'm praising Donald Trump. The amount of rage I feel is barely containable. And so I'm doing my best to maintain a measured tone, but let me tell you that saying that a madman who's been put in charge of our country not taking the opportunity when there would be literally no consequences if he said he was going to prosecute Joe Biden, he was going to make Joe Biden an enemy of the state, there would be no fucking consequences for him at this particular point. And when I say, oh, well, it's good that he is shifting his rhetoric away from that outcome, then I'm told, oh, I'm praising Trump. That isn't praise, you dipshit. You absolute mentally maladjusted individual. That is telling you that is a possibility of a good sign that we are not all going to go down in flames together in a hail of gunfire. Like I'm oh man, like if that's the positive, if that's what you are getting out of this, why the fuck are you here? You should be digging your bunker. You should be building your little underground utopia. You should be fleeing the fucking country. You should be finding a place to live on the moon, outside of the reach of the United States imperialism. That's what you should be doing, if you think that that is what's happening. So, I'm mad. But I hope that I just explained my point clearly. I think other people got it.
Into a country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, you know, I won on two things: the border.
Hey, Door Kickers Inc. Fuck off.
And more than immigration, you know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, you know, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision and, to a different extent, Kash Patel. Assuming they're both there, and I think they're both going to get approved. But you know, while you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that,
No,
sir.
wait. You can't do one without the other. In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you.
He's going back to The Hague where he can execute people. What a great outcome for him. What a weird thing to say.
What they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Why? I don't know. There's like an additional layer of it being fucked up telling me that I'm praising Donald Trump when I'm a fucking trans person. Jesus.
Else. And in the end, it probably helped me because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
Pam Bondi talks about investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith?
Nindreen.
Well, I think he's very
Nindreen, just somebody pissed me off in chat.
corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she has
Are
to do.
you going to direct her
No,
to
I'm not.
prosecute?
You okay, Jack? No, my sanity is hanging by a thread every single day when I get on this platform to make content. No, I'm not doing okay, and yet I persist.
She's a very smart person. She was a great attorney general in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it now.
Sir, are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And crime is at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions, as we've discussed. I can't say I'm thrilled. I don't want to be Joe Biden and give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk about
So
that,
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him. You take a look at what's happened. And then when I was shot in the ear, he said, "Oh, maybe it was shrapnel." Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so.
What a sassy little bitch.
So we need somebody to straighten. You know,
Can we take an intermission? No, you guys have the ability to get an intermission, but that requires subs and donos.
a lot of respect for the FBI. But the FBI's respect has gone way down over the last number of years.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is, in fact, confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right?
So yes, I am going to fire him. Yes, I do hate him a lot. Yes.
Somebody is the man that you're talking about.
Okay, let's talk about Project 2025. This is the conservative policy blueprint. You disavowed it during the campaign. You called it a product of the radical right. You've said some of their
not all.
ideas
No,
were abysmal.
I said some of it is. Some of
Okay.
it is very good. Some of
Okay.
it's very mainstream, actually. Frankly, the Democrats should have used some of it because they went, with all the transgender that they were doing and with the men playing in women's.
Oh man, what a brilliant strategist. Oh man, look at him. Donald Trump, what a president. Oh my goodness. I love him so much as a trans person. I can't believe it. Oh, my heart overflows with loyalty and praise for this individual. My God, how brilliant. 5D chess maneuver, sir.
Sports. If they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well, so you take me to my question. You're now giving people involved in Project 2025 prominent roles in your administration. Are you changing your mind about Project 2025? Is this now the policy blueprint for the second Trump administration?
It absolutely is. Why are you bothering asking him this question? He's just going to say no when it's very obvious the answer is yes. It's so infuriating. Repeatedly. This honestly, at this point, fire everyone at MSNBC. Fire everyone. They would do better as independent journalists. Let them fly through the fires of actual independent journalism.
Some people, if you take a look at the group, it was hundreds of people were involved. And I was actually, I reprimanded the whole group. I said, you shouldn't have placed this document in front of the voters because I have nothing to do with it and I'm the one that's running. You had no right to do this where you put a 1,000-page document in front, and many of those things I disagree with. Now, many of those things I happen to agree with. Many of those things Democrats should have agreed to, and I think they would have done much better in the election because they got slaughtered.
Well, I guess people see the list: Russ Vought, Brendan Carr, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe, Pete Hoekstra, Monica Crowley, and they think these are all of the people who were involved in or writing Project 2025. This must be a blueprint for work requirements, eliminating the Head Start.
Honestly, Gamergy, Morning Joe's existence really explains the plight of the current Democratic Party pretty well. They all hold Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski as these are the reasonable Republicans. We just need to win these people over. If they talk well about us, that means we're doing the right things to win an election. And that's it is hard to even really get at how much that motivates the entire Democratic apparatus. It's the mirage that they constantly chase after. They are going after this group of people who aren't actually going to vote for them. MSNBC has lost 53% of their viewership as a note. Good. Their reporting is dog shit.
Program criminalizing pornography. Is that what we can expect
Well, I
to
don't
see?
know how they voted. I don't know. I never spoke to them actually about it. And I purposely, and I told you, normally it would be just the opposite. I'd review every page. I purposely didn't even want to see it. Because when somebody like you asked me a question about Project 2025, I can honestly say I've never seen it.
Damn, MSNBC and CNN. Ratings slashed in half post-election. 47% drop-off by CNN, 53% for MSNBC. That is really bad. I mean, guys, this might be, knock on wood, this might be the last election where these major news networks actually hold sway. Fox News will remain relevant, but MSNBC, CNN, will they? I have no idea. I don't think leftists or liberals really trust either of those outlets anymore, frankly. And if these networks are losing the liberals, that's telling about their quality and direction.
I have nothing to do with it. I didn't read it, but I did hear some things in there that I would totally disagree with.
A drop in ratings is typical post-election, but not like that. Like, just to take a quick look here at for comparison. Fox News now commands 73% of cable news audience. In the 4 weeks since the election, starting November 6th through December 4th, Fox News captured 73% of primetime viewers of cable news, while also getting 72% of viewers between the ages of 25 and 54. For primetime, the network is up by 16%, and up 18% with viewers 25 through 54, according to Nielsen Media Research. So, yeah, it's usual for there to be a drop in views post-election, but Fox News ain't dropping.
And I said to the people that were really the people behind it, you know who those people are? I said, you really had no right doing this to me, because they used it as a soundbite, the Democrats. And I don't know, it couldn't have been too effective because they got slaughtered, but they did use it as a soundbite.
But to people who see, oh, he's bringing in all of these people from Project 2025, he must know what it is.
Well,
you say
know,
what?
I don't know what it is, no. I don't know what it is.
You still don't know
but
what
I
it
heard
is? All these
certain
people
things.
Hey, look, on the bright side, if CNN and MSNBC keep dropping viewership like that, I might become one of the most prominent prominent figures in reporting news. That's probably bad, though.
That I didn't like. And by the way, I heard certain things that are phenomenal.
Like what?
Like Law and Order. We want Law and Order. Okay?
Yeah, I do think Elon Musk is going to buy MSNBC. There's also a chance Elon could buy Hasbro. That's another thing that's on the table right now that I heard he was mulling over because he wants the rights to D&D, which would be a real bummer. That would be a real bummer. But a great reason to pirate everything Wizards of the Coast has ever made. So, you know, I guess look on the bright side.
Little thing like, let's put prisoners in jail. Let's not let people come out and raid every drugstore in Manhattan so that we have to put glass up and every store is going out of business.
Let me ask you about something you've referenced a couple of times in this interview. I asked you last time we sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter.
Remember, Trump knows everything about everything, unless it's unpopular or illegal. Then he knows nothing about it.
It's true. It's true. Or unless he's asked a very simple, direct question that he can't weasel out of. Also, putting it up on the board. Thank you for the $5 dono, very knifey duck.
Are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
I didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, cool, Trainer. I did
was
miss
given the
your
option.
sub. Thank you.
And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high
Thank you
up
for
in
subscribing over on
in
Twitch.
the
I appreciate it.
administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty. And you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of...
Yeah, like what is with the softball questions? Again, the only real conclusion you can come to about like how little the pushback is happening and how soft the questions are, the only conclusion you can come to is that they are deeply worried about being cut off from access, because if they are, their ratings will drop like a rock.
Legal fees. But it turned out that I was right. Look at what's gone on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fani Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped. It's all been discredited. It's been dropped. There are those people that say, and this would be the first time in history, that all of those fake indictments, they were going after a political opponent. There are those that say that I actually did better in the election because of it. Now, that would be a first. I think you would agree, because normally that's like You go back to the microphones. You say, I'm leaving right now. I will leave office. I'm going back to my family, and I will fight for my name. Well, I had to fight for my name in public because I didn't leave office. But no, I didn't want to pardon, and I didn't want to pardon myself. I had the option to pardon myself.
And you don't want one now? You're not going to pardon yourself now?
What do I need one for? First of all, I've won almost all of the cases.
What if President
And the ones
Biden...
that I didn't win
Almost.
are on resuscitation.
What if President Biden offered you a pardon? Would you accept it?
I've never even thought about it. I don't think he'll do it. Look, if he did, he's the one that started this whole thing. He got the Justice Department to go after me. And the state cases are all being run by the Justice Department, which is illegal. They had their people from the Justice Department work for Alvin Bragg in order to get something going. They worked for Letitia James in the state. He had his people.
Man, if I was any of the lawyers or judges that Donald Trump really hates, I would want to leave the country.
Go from the federal government.
Why are you talking about Biden needing to pardon Trump? Yeah, when we talk about paving the way for fascism and liberals being in bed with fascists, this is exactly the kind of thing we mean. They're like, oh well, for the sake of unity, you need to pardon him for the sake of unity. It's like, are you kidding? Why make it easier for him? Make it as hard as possible. You know, as you're leaving the White House, scatter those little ninja thumbtacks all over the place, okay? You know, the little things they have in Naruto, all right? Just scatter them all over the floor. Put them in the bed. Prevent them from ever having the ability to set foot in there, okay? Caltrips, thank you. Like, throw them all over the place. Dig pit traps. All I'm saying here is, like, you do not have to make it easy for him, because you know what? They're going to hate you and call you a communist no matter what you do. So make it as hard as possible for them to do the awful things they want to do.
And take lesser jobs in the state in order to get Donald
And you know
Trump.
he denies he had anything to do with it.
No,
and
you
there's
can't
no...
deny it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they were there. Wait a minute. Wait. You know, you have a tendency to sort of like
goddamn Clyburn was trying to get Biden to pardon Trump.
slough over things. You just made a statement. His person, the top, maybe the third or second or third person, left the federal government, the DOJ, and went to work for Letitia James. And then, after they got that one started, went to work for the DA.
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were.
It was other people's fault that January 6th happened. Yeah. Not your deliberate plan to make it happen. This motherfucker is going to be lying about this until the day he dies. And it's going to be so infuriating because no one in our legal system was capable of holding him to account.
Were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit.
Jaeger
Let me just
Larson.
tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied.
You're so feckless you couldn't even report him saying the word horse shit. Are you kidding me?
Anyway,
Jaeger Larson, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it over on Twitch. Getting us up. We're almost halfway there.
Lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I can't get? I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well-
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee.
We're going to
For
Oh, he's absolutely going to pursue retribution against people on the January 6th committee.
what they did,
yeah.
honestly, they should go to jail.
Yeah, I know that the FCC censors, but guess what? This is on YouTube. The YouTube doesn't censor on FCC doesn't censor on YouTube.
Do you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should go to
everybody on
jail.
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and
No,
your attorney general to send them to
No,
jail?
not at all.
Who? Okay, controversial hot take here. Would it be bad? Would it be a horrific overreach of power if Donald Trump sent Liz Cheney to jail? Yes. Would it be bad, and would anyone lose sleep over it aside from Liz Cheney? No.
I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to.
Like MSNBC does not understand that no one in their audience gives a single shit about Liz Cheney's well-being. They care about the damage this guy is going to do to the infrastructure of our country. That's what they care about. The democratic infrastructure. And you know what?
I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that,
on
it carries
strengthening the
weight,
wood.
though. You know, you've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can
and-
do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember,
Maybe he should.
unselect committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it. Wait, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do
that.
in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that, and officials say that the order never came in for
They
the
put
National
out
Guard.
a statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about
It's
January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be if you know, you have such potential. If you could be just
If you could just smile more, you'd be a lot more attractive. You know that?
non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly.
This is probably why she's playing such soft kid gloves with him this entire time, because frankly, any amount of pushback that is even remotely like in his face or antagonistic, he gets like upset about it.
I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm
If
just
I
saying
did
they
it,
deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They
You know what? I would admit to doing a crime. You know what? I do it. You know, if you presented me, if you found out that I had done a crime and you asked me point blank on television, I would admit to it. I would, you know.
The worms are back. The worms are back.
Really, really does feel like the brainworms are back. The worms are back in town.
have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Let me ask you about January 6th in a different capacity, okay? I think you're going to want to answer this question. You promised to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Are you still vowing to follow through with that promise?
We're looking at it right now, most likely, yeah.
Well, you
Those
know,
people have
January 6th never would have happened, okay? Okay? I didn't want it to happen. It never would have happened. But, you know, I am going to pardon everyone who took part in it. It was a terrible thing that never should have happened. But, you know, I'm going to pardon everybody.
suffered long and hard, and there may be some exceptions to it. I have to look. But, if somebody was radical, crazy, there might be some people from Antifa there. I don't know, because those people seem to be in good shape. Whatever happened to Scaffold Man? You know who Scaffold Man was? He stood on a scaffold telling everybody to go and nothing happened to him. Whatever happened to Ray Epps? Now, I don't know anything about Ray Epps, but it was sort of strange the way he was talking. Where is he? What happened to him? Because the people that did very little, they arrested an old woman because I don't think she did anything. They don't even know what she did. These people have suffered. Their lives have been destroyed. And yet in Portland, where they burn down half the city, they burn it down all the time. It's like a, routine occurrence. They don't do anything. They attacked the courthouse, federal courthouse. They always say federal building. Okay. They destroyed the beautiful limestone exterior of the courthouse in Portland. They killed people in Portland. Seattle, people got killed in Seattle. Seattle, they took over a big chunk of the city. They took it over. They took the city away. Minneapolis, it looked like when they said this is a friendly protest, and yet over the poor slob from CNN, his shoulder, the entire city was burning down. It looked like World War II. Nothing.
It looked like World War II? I live there, motherfucker. It didn't burn down. Like, what? A gas station caught on fire at one point, and the police precinct got burned down. The police precinct got burned down by conservatives who showed up to agitate, and we know that because the police caught them. It's fine. Minneapolis is still here.
Nothing happened.
but
But wait, nothing happened. They took over the police station. They took over the police station in Minneapolis. They burned it down.
Your supporters were the ones who burned down the police station. Let me just Oh. Boogaloo Boy charged in fire of Minneapolis police precinct during George Floyd protest. Ivan Harrison Hunter, a Texas right-wing extremist, bragged about helping to set the fire, then was seen shooting 13 rounds at the building. He traveled from Texas to Minneapolis and burned down the police precinct. That was your guy.
Nothing happened to anybody.
I just want to.
And yet these people
Yeah.
have been in jail, and I hear that jail is a hellhole. They've done reports, and you would say that's true. They've done reports. This is the most disgusting, filthy place. These people are living in hell.
Let me just.
And I think it's very unfair.
But-
So,
but-
yeah,
but let
most
me-
likely I'll do it very quickly.
Very quickly. Okay, but some of them, 169 of them, have pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers.
Because they had no choice.
900 pleaded guilty to other crimes. They're also going to be eligible for a pardon from you?
Listen, it's a very tough system. Do you know almost nobody? I saw people that didn't even go into the building and they were convicted. And you had the police saying, come on in, come on in. I mean, the police are saying, come on in, everybody, come on in. They had people, you have a lot of cameras. They don't want to release the tapes. They don't want to release the tapes.
So, but you're going to consider pardoning even those who've pleaded guilty to crimes, including assaulting police officers.
Sometimes they say, here's your choice.
You're not ruling it out.
Look, I know the system. The system's a very corrupt system. They say to a guy, you're going to go to jail for 2 years or for 30 years. And these guys are looking, their whole lives have been destroyed. For 2 years, they've been destroyed. But the system is a very nasty system.
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
move
I'm going to
on.
look at everything. We're going to look at individual
Everyone.
cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking
You can
first
issue
day.
these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Let's talk about your cabinet picks. I know we started off talking about Pete.
Absolutely deranged. He's speaking as the incoming president of the United States. He's capable of changing that system, and that's what he has to say.
Hegseth, but I just want to return to that very quickly. Have you gotten assurances from senators?
Like no follow up, no insight into like the ongoing problem of like prison conditions. Nothing. Okay.
That he's going to be confirmed? Do you
No.
think he can make it?
No, I think you will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem. And, you know, he had a lot of knives out for him. A lot of people don't want to see the military made better.
Let me ask you about former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You picked her to be the Director of National Intelligence.
Right.
In 2017, she had 2 secret meetings with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Do you have questions or concerns about those meetings?
No. And he's got...
Look, everyone has secret meetings all the time, okay? I don't need to know what happens between her and her husband, all right? And, you know, frankly, I don't need to know what happens between her and her booty call, okay? I don't need to know those things. Those are private.
bigger problems right now.
Well, do you think it
Because
makes
his
it hard
country's-
for her?
His country is
Yeah.
collapsing.
I mean, do you think it compromises her
look,
ability to
I met
handle
with
that?
Putin. I met with President Xi of China. I met with Kim Jong-un twice. Does that
When
mean
you
that
were
I can't be president?
Well, when you were president, they weren't
I know,
secret
but look,
meetings.
people meet. All these people meet. I mean, I see some of the
I've had dozens of secret meetings with world leaders. What do you mean?
most dishonest people. I'll tell you, the 51 agents that said that the laptop wasn't from Hunter, it was from Russia. What about them? Tell me about them. Do you think they did something wrong? Do you think they were all so stupid that they thought that the laptop from hell?
So you have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard.
I do. So does I mean, she's a very respected person.
Let me ask you about RFK Jr. He has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
If they're dangerous for the children. Look,
So possibly?
when you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent. It was, 1 out of 100,000, and now it's close to 1 out of 100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug companies, the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people. And I said, let's all get together and let's figure out where we're going. Because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And you look at our drug prices, they're much higher than the prices for the same medicine, for the same stuff. So we met, and we met for a long time, and we talked about pricing, and we talked about vaccines, in terms of what happens. We talked about pesticides. We talked about everything.
In terms of what happens.
And I think a lot of good things are going to come from him. And he's not going to upset any system. He's not going to upset this. He's not looking to, to reinvent the wheel totally. But when you look at the numbers, we really don't have a very healthy country.
Well, sir, going back 25 years, studies show that there is no link between vaccines and autism, and yet it
Yeah, maybe you should have led with that. Maybe you should have led with that.
sounds like you are open to the possibility of him looking
I'm
at
open to
getting rid of
anything.
them.
I think somebody has to find out. If you go back 25 years ago, you had very little autism. Now you have it. I mean,
Well, they say because they're better at identifying it.
Yeah, 25 years ago, you had you still had Asperger's. 25 years ago, autism in high functioning people was just called Asperger's. But Asperger's is just autism with terminology designed by a Nazi, so we don't use Asperger's anymore. God. Oh yeah, no, Lady Rainclad, I'm fully on board with letting these media institutions die horrible deaths. Whatever comes out of the ashes has to be better.
1 in 100,000, and now it's 1 in 100. That's
Well, no. Gamer G, autism in high functioning people was just called being eccentric if you were rich.
a pretty bad number.
Childhood vaccines.
I mean,
have
something
present-
is going on. I don't know if it's vaccines. Maybe it's chlorine in the water, right? People are looking at a lot of different things.
Well, childhood
I
vaccines.
want them to look at everything.
Everything. So childhood vaccines have prevented about 4
Wow, okay, we're 57 minutes in. We're finally getting like slightly more pushback than usual.
million deaths around the world every year.
I think that's
sir.
great.
Isn't that
I'm all for it. I think it's great. Hey, look, I'm not against vaccines. The polio vaccine is the greatest thing. If somebody told me get rid of the polio vaccine, they're going to have to work real hard to convince me. I think certain vaccines are incredible.
Certain ones,
But
the
maybe
right
some
kinds.
aren't. And if they aren't, we have to find out. But when you talk about autism, because it was brought up, and you look at the amount we have today versus 20 or 25 years ago, it's pretty scary.
Well, again, scientists say that's because they've gotten better at
I think we're gonna
identifying it, and
know,
there's
yeah.
no link in
But
studies.
the drug
sir.
companies are going to be working with RFK Jr. and he's been an interesting guy to me. I've watched him.
Bring up the children he killed. I'm sorry, this is journalistic malpractice. You're talking about vaccines, you're talking about RFK Jr. Bring up the fact that his stance against vaccines killed like 85 kids, directly attributable to his activism.
For 25 years, and he's been an interesting guy.
Let's talk about Elon Musk, another interesting
Nope, just moving right past that. Okay, cool.
person.
He's very interesting.
Last month, one of your allies said, quote, he's behaving as if he's a co-president. Will you favor Elon Musk over other leaders of competitor companies like Jeff Bezos, Mary Barra?
No, Jeff Bezos called me. We're having dinner. As you know,
No, I like all billionaires equally. They're all my favorites.
Mark Zuckerberg came in. We had a really nice dinner. He asked to have dinner. I had dinner with him. I'm having dinner with everybody. People like me now. It's something going on that people. I said, would you have come to dinner with me if I lost? I think the answer is no. I said nicely, kiddingly, of course, because I don't want to sound foolish. But I say jokingly.
Like, I'm sorry, how is this not just blatant corruption? To be wined and dined by billionaires? As an incoming president. That should be illegal. He's bragging about something that should be, in a just society, deeply illegal.
Would you have been here at dinner if I lost?
Yeah, I'm sure they're all having dinner with him because they find him a scintillating conversationalist.
And the answer was probably not. Look, I'm getting called by everybody. It's very interesting. It's different than the first. When I won the first time, I wasn't nearly as popular as this. And one thing that's very important in terms of the election, I love that I won the popular vote, and by a lot. If I didn't,
1.6%.
because they would go with the other one. They say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won a lot of. I won a lot of the electoral college, but But they would always preface it by saying, now they say he won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College and he won all 7 swing states. That was a great election.
Very quickly, because we're going to talk about the election coming up, but you've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct.
Which
Gamer G, thank you.
Speaking of weak journalists on cable news giving a pass to fascists, did you know Hassan said Lina Khan, the FTC chair, will be on his show tomorrow? Let the old media burn, new institutions shall rise.
Well, I mean, unironically, yeah. Like, yes. Absolutely.
Speaking of weak journalists on cable news giving a pass to fascists, did you know?
Like, we might be less far along in the advancement of kind of like new media as an institution, but I think that new media is going to be able to grow into like a pretty competitive grassroots system to counteract whatever is happening here. It's so exhausting. No pressure. Yeah. They'll just continue crawling through glass.
proposes cuts to the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
Not
Medicaid
going to have anything to do.
and defense
about,
spending.
We're talking
You
about
won't touch
theft,
Medicare, Social Security.
Abuse, fraud.
Okay.
No, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security, other than we make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
And
off
we're not
the table.
we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
No,
off the table.
I won't do it.
Okay, let's turn to foreign.
You know, it's really easy for him to say that, but I don't believe him at all on that one.
Policy. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into
Possibly,
office?
yeah, probably. Sure.
You've said you can end the war in
We're in
24
for 350 billion, and Europe is in for 100 billion. Why isn't Europe in for the same as us? The one thing that should happen is that Europe should come in they should equalize. And, you know, Biden, all he had to do, like I did with NATO, I said, you got to pay your bills. They weren't paying their bills. And as you know,
Yes. Europe should shoulder more of the money. Okay.
the Secretary General said, President Trump got 600 billion, no, 640 to be.
He did say make it better. I missed that part. Yeah, anytime he's talking about improving Social Security, it's just slashing it in some way.
Exact. And I used to use the 400 billion number. He corrected me. He said, no, you actually got $641 billion put in because I said you have to pay your bills. We were paying for NATO. And you know why I got the money? Because I asked for it. It wasn't that complicated. Europe is in for a fraction. And war with Russia is more important for Europe than it is for us. It's important for everybody, but it's more important for Europe than it is for us.
And you've said
we have a little thing called an ocean in between us.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office.
I'm trying to end it
You're
if I
actively
can.
trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been elected?
Mean, no, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've
I
been
don't
elected?
want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
But you
I want to
have
stop
talked
it.
about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I
world
have talked
leaders.
about. Let me tell
Okay.
you. There are people being killed in that war at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have to go back to the Second World War, and even that, if you take a look at, and you know what it is? It's the soldiers largely.
You know, famously, large, unstable geopolitical conflicts are known for just staying in one spot as opposed to spiraling out of control and turning into much larger conflicts. You know, when a superpower invades one, it's typically just a very targeted, never spirals out of control and trigger, you know, a cascading chain of, mutual defense pacts. That never happens.
The cities have been
This
empty.
is such a waste of an interview. It's such a waste of an interview, and it's really chilling the lack of pushback here. You know, it is really hammering home some of the lessons we've gone through on Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny, because this is a case where you need to actually step up and stand out, you know? Like, We need people who are willing to buck this trend and like stand out like at least a little bit to stand up against this fascist fuck.
Emptied out and demolished. The country has been demolished. If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one.
But you did go to court, sir.
Well, that's your opinion,
Yeah,
but I
okay.
disagree with it. Had I assumed, kept control, number one, Israel wouldn't have happened. Number two, Ukraine would have never happened. It would have never happened, Ukraine, Russia. But the number of people that are
You know, I always love how he just says that completely unchallenged. No one ever asks him how. No one ever asks him like what. Oh yeah, you have a plan. That's incredible. Tell me your plan. You need to butter him up with like that's incredible bit, but then you need to like actually follow up and then stay on that question until he answers it.
being killed, soldiers, young, beautiful soldiers. Hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. And you know, it's very interesting. It's
I mean, okay, actually, good counterpoint, Gordon guy. This interview is valuable because it shows us how full of shit MSNBC is.
totally level. The battlefields totally level. You know what's happening?
Yeah.
The only thing that's
He admitted he lost right there. He's done that so many times, but like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He could literally sit there and just go the entire time, and it wouldn't matter. His viewers would just be like, incredible performance art, sir.
stops a bullet. You know what it is? Is a body, a human body. And the people that are being killed, hundreds of thousands on both sides. Russia's lost probably 500,000.
Devastating.
Ukraine's lost higher than they say, probably 400,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of bodies laying all over fields. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it should have never been allowed to happen. Biden should have been able to stop it.
Sir, will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again,
Oh my God. He doesn't know.
they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taken advantage of us because we were look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations, okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars, they don't take our food product, they don't take anything. It's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude.
They absolutely do take all of those things. What is he talking about? Also, we buy stuff from them. They export to us.
Said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than $600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're doing if they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of getting it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Let's turn to the Middle East now, sir. There are still American hostages being held in Gaza.
Yeah.
You said this week that if the hostages aren't released before Inauguration Day, quote, there will be all hell to pay.
Correct.
What exactly did you mean? And do you still think that the hostages are alive?
I'm not a big believer in the fact that there are too many of them living, sadly, because I've seen the way they've been treated. I talk about the young girl that was pulled by her hair violently and thrown into the back of a car like she was a sack of potatoes. And I said, you know, that's hatred. And then I said, how did that young girl do? Beautiful young girl just dragged by her hair. You remember, blood pouring all over her body. You can imagine the parents thrown into the back of a car by some horrible guy. And I said, how is she? She's dead. She died, sir. I don't think you have as many. I mean, I hate to say it. I think you have far fewer hostages than people think.
Really?
That's what I think it's.
it-
It's only my opinion, but
Okay.
I've been right on just about everything.
Are you going to pressure Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I've been right on basically everything. No pushback. I hate this planet. This has made me hate the planet. We have 10 more minutes of this.
with whom you have a very good relationship, to end the war in Gaza.
Yeah, sure.
And
I
have
want
you
him to
already
end it.
started that process?
I want him to end it, but you gotta have a victory. People forget about October
Oh, you got to have a victory. Guys, that just means he wants to finish the genocide. Like he'll send U.S. troops to just do it himself.
7th. That was as violent. And you know what's happening? I noticed that a lot of people are saying, oh, it never really happened. That's like the Holocaust. You know, you have Holocaust deniers. Now you have October 7th deniers, and it just happened. No, October 7th happened.
No one's saying it didn't.
And I've seen the pictures.
What?
It is, what happened is horrible.
If China invades Taiwan on your watch, are you committed to defending Taiwan?
I never say.
Still won't say.
I never say because I have to negotiate things, right?
Can you just say if you'll defend
prefer
it?
that
I'm not
they
saying if
don't.
the U.S. military.
I'd prefer that they don't do it. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. We have been communicating with each other.
Since you were elected?
Yes.
And you
since,
sent
like,
that
Man, love when the incoming president is saying, we aren't going to honor any of our diplomatic agreements to like protect nations. We're not going to honor any of our military agreements that we have. Such a good sign for global stability.
message.
Since like 3 days ago. Yes, we communicate.
And you sent that message to him, don't
We
invade
didn't talk
Taiwan?
about that.
Okay.
We talked about other things. But I have a very good relationship, and I hope he doesn't do it.
This week, a federal court upheld a law that could result in TikTok being banned. You said you're going to rescue TikTok when you get into office. Are you going to take
Well, the
steps
problem
to
with the
protect
TikTok,
it?
Yeah, and as you know, I
You are?
used TikTok very successfully in my campaign. I have a man named TikTok Jack. He was very effective, obviously, because I won youth by 30%. All Republicans lose youth. I don't know why. Maybe it's changing. And last time we were down 30% with youth. This time we're up 35% with youth. And I use TikTok, so I can't really, I can't totally hate it.
I mean, you're just lying. Youth voters shifted towards Trump but still favored Harris overall. 42% of eligible youth voted in 2024. Yeah. 52 to 46%. Like, what are you doing, man?
It's springtime for Donald and fascism. America is happy and LGBTQ. We're marching to a dumber pace. Look out. Here comes the bastard race.
That was a reference to the producers, right? TikTok Jack, what have you been doing on the side? If I was making Republican money, I would not be so desperate for subs and donuts. Let me put it that way. Let's keep going.
It was very effective. But I will say this, if you do that, something else is going to come along and take its place. And maybe that's not fair. What they're doing, and really what the judge actually said was that you can't have China.
Oh man, it's always a great, Lady Raincloud, I'm sorry. It's always a great sign when the Ku Klux Klan is dropping flyers all over the place. Also, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I throw this up on screen? Real quick? Just real quick as to indicate what Donald Trump is doing here and also to make fun of them. So the KKK is going around and dropping these flyers, right? And can we just take a look real quick? Because obviously this is horrific. But real quick, let's just zoom in here. They call their different states realms. Call your nearest realm for more information. Are you kidding me? What a bunch of absolute loser dorks. What a bunch of, like, LARPy, like, dipshits. Running around with, like, foam swords trying to, like, cast spells and shit. Except, you know what? People who do that and aren't racists are way better. They're having fun. People who do Ku Klux Klan shit aren't having fun. They're miserable. They're all isolated, sad, lonely, and they have no escape from their humdrum little lives until they put on the hood. And then you know what? They don't dare wear it anywhere because they're going to piss themselves yellow in their realms, respectively. Absolute load of horseshit individuals. Anyway, fun fact, Donald Trump's dad might have been in the Ku Klux Klan. Moving on. I want it would explain a lot about how much his progeny sucks ass.
Chinese companies, in other words, they have the right to ban it if you can prove that the Chinese companies own it. That's what the judge asked.
So are you going to try to protect TikTok just very quick once you're in office?
I'm going to try and make it so that other companies don't become an even bigger monopoly.
Okay.
Because that's what happens.
We're winding down, and I know you have a plane to catch.
I do.
This is your first interview since you won the election.
Congratulations.
Yes,
I hope
congratulations to you.
I hope you do well with it.
Yes, and sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided. And now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
I'm so tired of these questions. You know he's not going to. And you know that, I'm sorry, there are so many bigger things to push him on right now. So many more valuable questions to ask.
No. No. Why would I do that? But let me
Yeah, no, that's the most honest he's been the entire time. No, why would I do that? Do I look like a fucking idiot? Why would you ask me that? That's a stupid question from a stupid person.
just tell you, when you say the country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president, I'm not. And he has been a divider. And you know where he divided it more than anything else, and it probably backfired on him, I think definitely, is weaponization. When he weaponized the Justice Department and he went after his political opponent, me, he went after his political opponent violently because he knew he couldn't beat him. And I think it really...
Man, it's so weird when he slips into talking about himself in the third person. Like, honestly, I want like an aggressive interviewer to be like, why are you talking about yourself in the third person? That's kind of weird. Like, so, do you understand how like cutting that kind of remark would be to this man? How like flummoxed he would be about that if someone pointed out that he's talking like a weirdo? Like, actually get punchy in these conversations.
It was a bad thing, and it really divided our country.
Sir, Democrats have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why didn't they?
Is he admitting he lost the 2020 election? No.
Democrats have control now
of the White House.
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
Because I think it was too big to rig.
Less people voted this time.
So you won't...
Too big to rig.
To the people who say that you're now directing your Justice Department to investigate 2020 and they want to move on.
Very capable.
Is that
I think Pam is going to be
of
great.
Precious resources?
By the way,
is that what you want them to do?
Just so you know, I have the right to do that, but I'm not interested in that.
Oh, you're not? You're not going to do that?
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I have the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? Drilling and getting prices down and stopping people from pouring into our border that come from prisons and mental institutions.
Last two questions here. One of the things that made this campaign unprecedented and extraordinary were the horrific attempts against your life. 2 assassination attempts. Yeah. Do you feel safe going into the White House for the next 4 years? Why?
I have confidence in Secret Service. I know the people. I got to know a lot of them, and I have confidence. It was a bad moment.
I'm sorry here. Like, voter shifts. Literally, 10 million fewer people showed up. Like, oh, it was just too big this time. Really? It was so big that 10 million fewer people made it bigger somehow?
Something shouldn't have happened, but I have a lot of confidence, and they've really stepped it up. They were restricted from giving the look. I do a rally, and you were at many of them, and I'd have 50,000 people. Joe would have a rally, and he'd have 30 people, and he had more Secret Service than me. My Secret Service was always asking for more manpower / women power. They were asking for more and more and more, and they couldn't get it. I'm not blaming them, really, because they were always fighting for more people, and they wouldn't get. Now, boy, do we have it.
I know it was hard on your entire family. What can people expect from the First Lady in this second administration?
Are you kidding me? She was like hoping the entire time that he was gonna die. Are you kidding me? Literally. She wants him to die so badly so she can inherit whatever he has.
Role will she play? She obviously had her Be Best campaign.
She's very liked, loved, and she's very respected, and she's a very solid person, and she devotes a lot of time to helping children. You know what she does, and she's got her Be Best deal that is incredible what she's done. The one thing I say, whether it's First Lady or my children did such a good job, and they were treated very badly by the press and others. Ivanka was unbelievable what she did, and she all she wanted to do is one thing: get people jobs. She could have been the UN secretary. I said to her, she would have been unbelievable. She's got the whole package for that, including right up there. She's as smart as they. She didn't want. She said, "Daddy, I want to work on getting people jobs." You know, she'd go to Walmart, she'd go to X such a. She produced millions of jobs for people. Not glamorous. Most people didn't know she did it. And she was always being
Citation fucking needed.
excoriated. And I said to my kids, don't come in. Don't come in. It's just
You said to them, don't
I said to them, yeah.
But will you miss having them there? Will it feel different? They were your top advisors.
I'll tell you what, I'll miss them, and they're really competent. But I say, just go have fun, do your business, do whatever you want to do, but don't come in. Because no matter what they did such a great job. Although I have to say, Lara did a phenomenal job as the head of the Republican National Committee, along with Michael.
What will the first...
He wants to especially single out Laura Trump because she's angling for a Senate seat.
Lady's role be, do you think? Will she continue her Be Best campaign?
She's a very elegant First Lady. She was a very successful woman before that, in the modeling and other things, but in the modeling, very successful. The press, I can't say treated her unfairly. You know why? Because she's very popular. You would think if the press was unfair, like to me, the press was obviously unfair to me. The press, no president has ever gotten treated by the press like I was. And yet I got more votes than any Republican candidate in history, by far. It's not even close. So you say, what's that all about? The press has to straighten itself out because, honestly, it's lost all credibility. When that can happen, based on the press, I should have gotten no votes, none. And yet I got the highest number ever. And the reason is because I'm able to go on a show, even like yours, even though you're very hostile, I'm able to go on a show like yours. No, you are.
Well, hopefully you thought it was a fair interview. We covered a lot of policy ground.
It's fair only in that you allowed me to say what I say. But, you know, the answers, the questions are, you know, pretty nasty. But look, because I've seen you interview other people like Biden, and
I've never interviewed President Biden.
When I say you, I'm talking metaphorically.
Okay.
I've seen George Stephanopoulos interview Biden, and he's a tough interviewer. It's the softest interview. I've seen CNN interview him. They give these soft, you know, what's your favorite ice cream? It's a whole different deal. I don't understand why. You know, you would think the press would like to see strong borders, great education, a powerful military, so we have a country left, and all these different things. And somehow they don't want to see that.
Let me ask you, hopefully you think this interview was fair. We spent a lot of time talking about your policy in your second administration. I want to ask you, sir, one final question. What do you want to say to Americans who didn't support you in this campaign?
I'm going to treat you every bit as well as I have treated the greatest MAGA supporters. There's never been anything like MAGA in the history of this country. These people are so dedicated to making America great again. It's very simple. And I'm going to treat them just the same as I treat MAGA. We're going to treat everybody good. We want success for our country. We want safety for our country. You know, our country's under threat, as you know. We have a tremendous threat militarily because of the power of weapons and weaponry. It's a tremendous threat. Nobody talks about it, but it's a tremendous threat. I want to treat everybody the same. I want to treat them well. And at the end of this 4 years, I have a big head start because I was there.
This is just an uninterrupted stream of insanity. Like, I've metaphorically seen you interview Biden. Like, I'm gonna treat you as well as MAGA. You know, I will treat you equally with MAGA. Proceeds to then extol all the virtues of the MAGA community. But I'll treat you just as well, though. No, you won't. You lying fuck.
For 4 years fairly recently. A lot of bad things were done during the 4 years that I wasn't there, and mostly in what they've done in terms of our reputation overseas. Our reputation is so bad, so shot. I got to bring it back, and I also have to bring back civilization to our country. Our country is a crime
I wasn't aware that our country didn't have civilization anymore.
pot, and we have to get rid of crime. We have so many things to do. We have to do the prices. We have to do all of that. But we have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to bring down crime. People have to be able to walk across the street and buy a loaf of bread without being shot. And that's going to happen. But what I say to them is, I love you, and we're going to all work together, and we're going to bring it together. And you know what's going to bring it together? Success. I saw that just prior to COVID coming in, I had polls that were the highest anyone. McLaughlin and Fabrizio said, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, if they came back from the dead and they ran as president and vice president, couldn't beat you, sir. We were doing so well. And I was getting along with the left. Let's call it the left. We'll be nice. Okay, we're just going to call it. But I was getting along with people that you would consider liberal or progressive, as they like to say, at levels that I never thought was possible. And you know what it was? Success. Success was bringing the country together, and that's what I want to do.
We'll leave it there unless you'd like to say anything more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the honor
Very much.
of
Great
this
honor.
first interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Not gonna lie, things are looking pretty bleak. That was a terrible interview. And I'm very pessimistic about how things are gonna unfold for Donald Trump in the future, but that was hard to watch. Hard not to doomer after that. I mean, an understandable impulse, but remember what we watched, what we went over right before this segment? How we went over tales of torture from the deepest, darkest dungeons of the Assad regime, and how even from that, people can come out on the other side feeling hope and continuing to hope and to work towards a better future. And to fight for it, to actually fight for it, and to win. We can do that too. There's always hope. Honestly, what this really is not doomering. It's having an accurate understanding of what our enemy is. We need to understand our enemy before we can actually start taking action to oppose it, you know? We can't fight for it the way they fought for it. Yeah, I mean, I think we can fight for it in a lot of different ways. some of which probably better relegated to more private encrypted channels. But here, we can fight for it with each other by forming these mutual aid networks like we've been doing in the Discord, riverboat.gg/discord. We can fight for it by showing up to our goddamn meetings in the Democratic Party, in the DSA, in City Hall, etc. We can fight for it in innumerable different ways in our social lives, in our political lives, in our daily activities. We can show up in so many different ways, because some of the ways you might be called upon to support a community might involve baking someone a loaf of bread. It might be driving someone to the grocery store, or donating a pair of pants or shoes or something. Like, what we're going into is the common everyday resistance in a million minor ways, and that all adds up. That's the period we're going into. And yeah, that's kind of one of the things I'm getting at, Forlorn79. Like, people will talk shit all day, every day, and like they'll talk big talks about, like, we're just gonna overthrow the government. And it's like, what do you mean you're gonna overthrow the government? They're like, well, 100 guys with handguns could probably do it. It's like, oh, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about, right? These people won't even show up to their local DSA meeting, let alone their local Dem meeting, let alone a local town hall or school board meeting. You know, like, 90% of the work is just showing up at relatively boring meetings and making friends and connections there. That's it. Okay? And the other part is building out, like, our mutual aid networks, because when shit hits the fan, we'll need each other for way more than any kind of, like, violent revolution. We'll need each other for the simple acts that get us through the day, whether it's for joy, for socializing, for smiling, for, being able to clothe ourselves, to feed ourselves. These are the common things that people need in order to continue to resist. And I feel like we have an obligation to build up that base of support first before we get to any of the other more serious ways of resistance. So we need to build out those kinds of support networks, and we need to build up our political power by any means possible within the bounds of the law in terms of service. By showing up at our Democratic meetings, by showing up at our DSA meetings, by showing up at our local meetings, because the meetings are where the power happens. The meetings are where that is built. So, go do that. Because the situation is only hopeless if we allow it to be hopeless. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It still doesn't feel great to have watched that interview, but I believe in all of us. I believe in you guys, and I think that we can. I think that we can do great things together. So, yeah, push people left as you can, and work to help others survive. That's what I got. That's all I got. We finished the segment. We did it. Can we at least press C to parry? Maybe. Nobody's coming to save America but Americans. Exactly. There is no, like, democratic savior that is going to swoop in and save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work of actually showing up. It's not going to be fun, but it is necessary.